My beloved child, do not scroll away from this moment. Listen carefully. There is a reason your eyes stopped here tonight. There is a reason your spirit suddenly became still while these words appeared before you. This is not an accident. And before this message ends, you will understand why your life has suddenly felt different. Something has been shifting around you quietly, deeply, invisibly. You felt it, didn't you? The strange heaviness, the sudden exhaustion that sleep could not fix, the feeling that something was changing, even though nothing around you seemed different yet. You tried to ignore it. You told yourself you were overthinking. You tried to continue your normal routine while something inside your spirit kept whispering that a change was coming. My child, that whisper was me. Yes, me. I have been calling you for longer than you realize. Even during the moments you thought heaven had gone silent. Even during the nights when you questioned whether your prayers were reaching anyone at all. I was there, closer than your next breath, watching every silent tear you hid from others, listening to every exhausted thought you were too afraid to speak aloud. And now, finally, you are listening. Do not let distraction pull you away now. This next part matters deeply. Someone tried to keep you from hearing this message. You may not fully understand that yet, but your spirit already feels the truth of it. There have been forces around your life trying to keep your mind clouded, your heart discouraged, your faith exhausted. Why? Because the moment you truly hear my voice, everything begins to change. The confusion starts breaking. The fear loses its grip. The chains around your thinking begin to loosen. And what once controlled you can no longer hold you the same way. That is why this message found you now. Not yesterday, not weeks ago, now at this exact moment. Because your spirit was finally ready to receive what I have been trying to show you. My beloved, you thought this was just another video, just another passing message. But quietly, before you even pressed play, I was already drawing you here. I guided your steps. I slowed your scrolling. I pulled at your attention gently because your soul needed this encounter more than you realize. You have been asking me for a sign, perhaps not always with words, but through your exhaustion, through your loneliness, through the silent ache inside your chest that nobody around you fully understands. And now, here you are, not by coincidence, but by divine appointment. My child, hear this carefully. You are not forgotten. You were never abandoned, even when people walked away from you, even when doors closed unexpectedly, even when you sat alone wondering why your life suddenly felt so strange. I was still guiding every step. What you called delay, I called protection. What you called rejection, I called redirection. And what you believed was the end of your story was only the beginning of the transformation I prepared for you long ago. But listen closely now, because this next truth is important. The reason your spirit has felt restless lately is because your old season is ending. You cannot carry who you used to be into where I am taking you. That is why certain things have started falling apart. That is why some relationships suddenly changed. That is why you no longer feel comfortable in places that once felt familiar. Your spirit recognizes that a shift has already begun, even before your mind fully understands it. My beloved child, I know this transition has frightened you. I know there were nights you laid awake asking yourself questions nobody else heard. Why do I suddenly feel disconnected? Why do I feel emotionally tired all the time? Why does it feel like something is changing inside me? You are not losing yourself. You are awakening. And that awakening began the moment you stopped relying only on what your eyes could see. Because I have been speaking to you quietly through moments, through feelings, through interruptions, through unexpected delays, through people entering and leaving your life. Nothing has been random. Nothing. Even the pain you experienced recently carried hidden purpose. I know you do not fully understand that yet, but before this message ends, you will begin to see. why your spirit had to walk through these dark and confusing places first. My beloved, stay with me. Do not skip ahead. Do not let the noise around you pull you away from this moment. Because right now your spirit is hearing something your heart has needed for a very long time. The world taught you to ignore your inner exhaustion, to smile while breaking internally, to pretend you were strong while silently carrying unbearable emotional weight. But I saw the truth. I saw the hidden sadness behind your smile. I saw how tired you became from constantly fighting battles nobody else knew existed. And I need you to understand something tonight. You were never fighting alone. Even when you could not feel me, I was protecting you in ways you still do not realize. There were moments you almost gave up completely. Moments when discouragement wrapped itself around your thoughts so heavily that you questioned your purpose. But I kept you here. I sustained you quietly because your story is not finished. In fact, it is only now beginning to unfold. My precious child, the enemy wanted you isolated, distracted, emotionally numb, spiritually exhausted, because a tired spirit struggles to hear my voice clearly. But despite every attempt to bury your hope, you are still here listening, and that alone should tell you something powerful. You survived things that were supposed to break you. You walked through storms that should have destroyed your faith completely. Yet somehow, a small part of you kept believing there had to be more. That small remaining hope inside you, I protected it, because I planted it there myself. And now I am watering it again, quietly, gently, deep within your spirit. My child, there is something unfolding around your life right now that you cannot fully see yet. Certain truths are about to be revealed. Certain hidden things are coming into the light. And suddenly many moments from your past will begin making sense. The betrayal, the delay, the confusion, the isolation, the closed doors. You thought those things were punishments, but they were preparations. I was separating you from paths that would have destroyed your peace. I was pulling you away from people who could not go where I am leading you next. And yes, it hurt. I know it hurt deeply. But my child, had I allowed certain people to remain beside you, they would have delayed your destiny even longer. Soon you will understand why certain connections had to break. Soon you will understand why your spirit suddenly became restless. Soon you will understand why this message found you tonight. Because I am calling you out of confusion and into clarity, out of fear and into trust, out of emotional survival and into spiritual awakening. But this is only the beginning. There is still something you have not seen yet. Something hidden has already started moving behind the scenes of your life. And when it is finally revealed, you will realize that I was guiding you this entire time. Remember my words. Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you. Isaiah 30:21. That voice has been with you all along. And tonight, for the first time in a long while, you are finally beginning to hear it again. My beloved child, the tiredness you have been carrying is deeper than physical exhaustion. You noticed it, didn't you? Sleep no longer restores you the way it once did. Even after resting, your spirit still feels heavy. Your body sits still, but your mind keeps fighting invisible battles. And sometimes you cannot even explain why you feel so emotionally drained. You began questioning yourself quietly. Why am I suddenly so tired? Why do simple things feel overwhelming now? Why does it feel like my soul has been carrying something too heavy for too long? Listen to me carefully now. You are not weak. You are not broken, and you are not losing your mind. You have been walking through a spiritual separation process. That exhaustion you feel is not proof that I abandoned you. It is proof that transformation has already begun. My child, before I elevate someone, I often separate them. Before I restore them, I uncover what has been hidden inside them. And before I lead them into a new season, I remove them from environments, people, habits, and attachments that can no longer go where I am taking them. That separation feels painful at first, lonely, confusing, heavy. You start feeling disconnected from things that once distracted you. Conversations begin feeling empty. Places that once comforted you suddenly feel unfamiliar. Even your own thoughts become quieter, deeper, more emotional. And because you did not understand what was happening, you thought something was wrong with you. But my beloved, nothing is wrong with you. I have simply been pulling you away from noise so your spirit can hear me clearly again. Do not skip this part. This next truth matters deeply. The exhaustion became strongest the moment you started resisting what your spirit already knew. Deep inside yourself, you sensed change coming. You sensed that certain people were no longer aligned with your future. You sensed that you could not keep living the same way emotionally. You sensed that something inside you was awakening. But part of you kept trying to hold on to the old version of your life because it felt familiar. And that inner conflict created exhaustion within your spirit, because your soul cannot fully rest while fighting against the direction I am leading it. My child, I know how tired you became pretending everything was fine. I saw the nights you cried alone. I saw the moments you stared into silence because you no longer had words for the heaviness inside your heart. I saw you smiling in front of others while secretly wondering how much longer you could keep carrying everything alone. And still, you kept going, even when your spirit felt fragile, even when your thoughts became dark, even when discouragement whispered that nothing would ever change. You kept moving forward. Do you know why? Because I never left you. Even during the moments you felt spiritually numb, I was still sustaining your soul quietly behind the scenes. You thought your exhaustion meant you were failing, but actually, you were surviving a season that would have destroyed a weaker spirit. My precious child, not everyone could have survived what you survived. Not everyone could carry silent heartbreak while still waking up each morning trying to continue. Not everyone could endure disappointment after disappointment without becoming completely bitter. But you endured, barely at times, but you endured. And heaven saw every second of it. Listen closely now. There were spiritual weights attached to your life that I have been slowly removing from you. Old wounds, old fears, old lies you started believing about yourself. The fear of not being enough. The fear of being abandoned again. The fear that your future would never change. You carried these burdens for so long that eventually, you stopped noticing how heavy they became. But I noticed, I always noticed. And now I am asking you to stop carrying what was never yours to hold alone. Come closer to me now, not with perfection, not pretending to be strong, not hiding your exhaustion. Come exactly as you are, tired, confused, emotionally overwhelmed. Come to me honestly. Because, my child, I never asked you to fight every battle by yourself. Remember these words. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. That promise still belongs to you. Even now, especially now, the world taught you to suppress your pain, to keep functioning no matter how exhausted your soul became. To hide your tears because vulnerability frightened people around you. But I do not reject your weakness. I meet you inside it. I sit beside you in the silence. I remain with you during the nights when anxiety wraps around your thoughts and sleep refuses to come easily. I stay near you when loneliness becomes unbearable. And my child, there were nights recently when your spirit came very close to giving up completely. You wondered if things would ever truly improve. You wondered whether anyone genuinely understood the battle happening inside you. You even questioned your own worth at times, but listen carefully. The reason the battle became so intense is because your spirit is approaching breakthrough territory. Darkness fights hardest when transformation is closest. The enemy wanted you exhausted enough to stop listening to my voice, exhausted enough to settle for survival instead of healing. Exhausted enough to believe that this heaviness would last forever. But it will not. This season is changing, even now. While you are hearing these words, something inside your spirit is beginning to breathe again. Quietly, slowly, gently. I am restoring parts of you that exhaustion tried to bury. Your hope, your peace, your emotional strength, your ability to believe again. You do not need to force this transformation. You do not need to understand every detail immediately. You simply need to stay close to me while I heal what the world could not heal. And my beloved, I know there are still moments when fear returns. Moments when your thoughts suddenly become heavy again. Moments when your energy disappears and you feel emotionally distant from everyone around you. Do not panic when that happens. Healing is not always loud. Transformation is not always instant. Some changes happen quietly beneath the surface long before they appear outwardly. A seed beneath the soil looks invisible before it blooms. And right now, much of your transformation is still happening beneath the surface. That is why your spirit has felt so strange lately. You are between seasons, no longer fully connected to your old life, but not fully standing in your new season yet either. That space in between feels exhausting, but it is temporary, and it is holy, because it is in this quiet separation that I rebuild your spirit. My child, I need you to stop attacking yourself for being tired. You kept blaming yourself for slowing down emotionally. You kept wondering why you suddenly needed more silence, more distance, more time alone. But your spirit was not failing. Your spirit was recovering. There is a difference. You were carrying emotional pain for too long without rest, trying to rescue everyone, trying to survive every storm, trying to appear strong even while your soul quietly collapsed underneath the pressure. But now I am teaching you something different. You do not have to carry every burden anymore. You do not have to save everyone. You do not have to bleed internally just to keep others comfortable. This season is teaching you how to breathe again, how to rest again, how to feel my presence again. And yes, part of that process required separation, because some voices around you were drowning out my voice. Some environments were draining your spirit slowly. Some people only knew the exhausted version of you and could not recognize who you are becoming now. So I pulled you away, not to punish you, but to preserve you, my beloved child. Hear me clearly now. The exhaustion will not define your future. This heaviness is not your permanent identity. You are not destined to remain emotionally drained forever. A new strength is rising inside you already. Not the kind that comes from pretending, not the kind built from survival mode, but the quiet strength that comes from finally realizing you do not walk alone anymore. Soon, you will notice small changes. Your breathing will feel lighter. Your thoughts will become calmer. The fear that once controlled you will slowly loosen its grip. And one day you will look back at this season and realize something astonishing. The very exhaustion you thought was destroying you was actually separating you from everything that was preventing your transformation. You were never weak, my child. You were being prepared. And even now, while you listen to my voice, your healing has already begun. My beloved child, there is something you must finally understand. Not everyone around you celebrated your spirit the way they pretended to. Not everyone who smiled in your face carried pure intentions in their heart. And deep down, you already felt it. You noticed certain conversations leaving you emotionally drained. You noticed how some people only appeared when they needed something from you. You noticed how your spirit became uneasy around certain individuals, even when they spoke kind words outwardly. But because your heart was compassionate, you ignored the warnings. You kept giving chances. You kept hoping people would change. You kept trying to believe the best in those who quietly carried hidden motives against you. And my child, that is why the betrayal hurt you so deeply. Because you loved sincerely. You trusted sincerely. You gave parts of your heart to people who never fully valued the depth of your spirit. I know the confusion this caused inside you. You kept replaying moments in your mind, asking yourself, How could they smile at me while secretly working against me? How could someone claim to care about me while quietly damaging my peace? Why did I not see it sooner? Listen carefully now. Do not blame yourself for having a soft heart. Your kindness was never the mistake. Their hidden intentions are, and I need you to understand something even deeper tonight. Some people were assigned to distract you from your purpose. Yes? Assigned. Not everyone who enters your life comes to build you. Some come to delay you. Some come to weaken your confidence. Some come to feed on your emotional energy while giving nothing back to your spirit. And because you were already emotionally exhausted, you kept carrying relationships that heaven had already warned you about. But your spirit knew that discomfort you felt around certain people, that heaviness after certain conversations, that strange anxiety whenever particular names appeared on your phone. That was not your imagination, that was discernment. I was trying to show you what your heart kept refusing to accept. My beloved, I know how painful it became when the truth finally started revealing itself. Because betrayal wounds differently when it comes from someone you once trusted deeply, especially when they knew your weaknesses, your fears, your struggles, your secrets, and still chose to misuse your trust. Remember these words. Even my close friend, someone I trusted, one who shared my bread, has turned against me. Psalm 41:9. You are not alone in this pain. Even those chosen for great purpose experienced betrayal. Even those closest to me misunderstood me, abandoned me, and doubted me at times. So do not let betrayal convince you that you are unloved. Sometimes betrayal is simply confirmation that your spirit has outgrown certain connections. But listen carefully now. This betrayal saved you. Yes, it hurt you. Yes, it broke your heart for a season. Yes, it left emotional scars you are still healing from. But had I allowed those people to remain close to you much longer, they would have delayed your destiny even more deeply. You thought losing them destroyed your future, but in truth, losing them protected it. There were conversations happening behind your back that you never heard. There were hidden jealousies you never fully recognized. There were smiles masking competition, compliments masking resentment, support masking hidden hostility. And because your heart was genuine, you could not imagine others secretly carrying darkness toward you. But I saw everything, every hidden motive, every secret intention. Every moment someone smiled in your presence while privately hoping you would fail. Nothing escaped my sight. Nothing. My child, there were people around you who benefited from your brokenness. People who preferred you insecure because your confidence intimidated them. People who wanted your help but not your growth. Your loyalty but not your elevation. Your kindness but not your success. And the moment your spirit started awakening, the tension increased. That is why some relationships suddenly shifted. That is why certain people became colder toward you for no clear reason. That is why some individuals quietly disappeared once they realized they could no longer control your emotions the same way. The separation confused you at first, but heaven was exposing what your heart could no longer afford to ignore. Do not skip this next part. It matters deeply. The betrayal was never sent to destroy you. It was sent to reveal who truly belongs beside you in your next season. Because not everyone can follow you where I am leading you now. Some people were connected to your pain, but not your healing. Connected to your survival season, but not your transformation season. And if I had not removed them, they would have kept speaking fear into the future I am trying to build inside you. My beloved child, you kept mourning people who were secretly draining your peace. You kept asking me to restore relationships that I was trying to rescue you from. You kept reopening doors that heaven had already closed for your protection. And every time you ignored my warnings, your spirit became heavier. Because your soul cannot fully heal while remaining attached to what keeps wounding it. I know part of you still misses certain people. Not because they treated you well, but because your heart remembers who you hoped they would become. That is why letting go became so difficult. You were grieving potential, grieving memories, grieving the version of them you believed existed. But my child, some people only knew how to love you when you were weaker, when you doubted yourself, when you accepted less than you deserved, spiritually and emotionally. And now that your spirit is awakening, they no longer know how to stand beside the stronger version of you. That is why the distance happened. That is why communication changed. That is why your spirit started pulling away even before your mind fully understood why. Because I was separating you quietly, lovingly, necessarily. And yes, separation can feel lonely at first, especially when you genuinely loved people. Especially when you would have stayed loyal forever. But my child, loyalty without discernment becomes self-destruction. You cannot continue carrying people who repeatedly damage your peace. You cannot keep shrinking your spirit just to remain accepted by those who fear your growth. You cannot heal while constantly reopening the wounds I am trying to close. I know these truths are difficult to accept, but your future requires clarity now. Not emotional blindness, not desperate attachment. Clarity. And this next season of your life will demand stronger discernment than ever before. Because where I am leading you, not everyone will have access to your spirit anymore. Some people lost access the moment they dishonored your heart. Others lost access the moment they secretly celebrated your suffering. And some lost access simply because they refused to grow with you. That is not punishment, that is protection. My beloved, one day you will stop crying over certain endings and start thanking me for them. One day you will look back and realize that the betrayal exposed what your emotions kept trying to hide. One day you will understand that some people leaving your life was the first sign that your transformation had truly begun. Because betrayal has a strange way of revealing destiny. The wrong people often leave right before the right season arrives. And right now, many hidden things are being uncovered around your life. Watch carefully. You will begin noticing patterns you ignored before. You will begin understanding why certain situations suddenly collapsed. You will begin recognizing the difference between people who truly carried light and those who only pretended to. And when that clarity fully arrives, your spirit will finally stop blaming itself for separations heaven itself created. My child, you were never rejected by me. You were redirected by me. There is a difference. The people who betrayed you thought they were ending your story, but they unknowingly pushed you closer toward the future I already prepared for you. Their betrayal became your separation. Your separation became your awakening. And your awakening is becoming the beginning of your new season. If this message is speaking directly to your spirit, type "I release them" in the comments below. Not because the pain was easy, but because your future is too important to stay chained to what wounded you. And my beloved, this is only the beginning. Because soon, I will show you why certain betrayals had to happen before the blessing could arrive.